Hey everyone, I'm here today to take a look at the Jurassic World Massive Biters Albertosaurus from Mattel. I was initially going to pass on this guy because he looked like he was just a bit of a repaint and retool of the battle damage Albertosaurus, but he's actually a pretty much completely different mould. I'll show you a comparison with the original Albertosaurus after I've gone over the articulation for this guy. Now, the legs move up and down, but they're pretty much connected, so you can't move them independently from each other because they're connected to the action feature of moving the dinosaur up and down, so they only move together like that. And then if you move the tail, it moves the head from side to side, and if you press the button on the tail there, it makes the mouth open and close. Which does mean that the mouth is constantly hanging open, which I'm not usually much of a fan of. I prefer it to be closed and then open when you press the button rather than the other way around. But it's still quite a nice action feature, quite a simple gimmick. Just moving the head there, and you move the dinosaur up and down. As well as that articulation, the ankles also swivel, which I find a bit useless because it puts the feet at a really weird angle if you try and use it, and it breaks up the sculpt, so it just doesn't look very good. But it does have some nice arm articulation where not only do the arms move all the way around like that, but they also go out to the sides as well. So they've got quite a good kind of ball joint to them. But most of the articulation is built into the action feature, like the jaw and the neck and the tail movement, and even the joints at the hips there are all connected to that action feature. So it's a bit limited on posability really. You are kind of stuck with just that one pose, but it does look good. He's mainly a light green colour. He's got a bit of pale under his jaw and neck there, kind of a yellow colour, but it only goes down to his chest and not on the rest of the underside. And then it's got this orange stripe along the side, which I'm not that keen on. I wish it was more of a darker red maybe. I think it would blend better. Orange just seems a bit too out there. It doesn't look like a natural kind of colour that would be on a green dinosaur like this. Of course we don't know what colours they were, but I don't know, I find it a little bit too garish really. I think if it's a more muted kind of red it would look better and match a bit more with the original while still looking unique. It's got very bright pink mouth as well inside there, with some nice texturing on the tongue. And here he is with the battle damage Albertosaurus, which I think was the first Albertosaurus release we had. And you can see as well as the colours being different. And what I said about the orange on this one is I wish it was more that kind of darky red colour like on the original. I like the lighter green on this, but I think a darker stripe there, so it matched a little bit more with the original, would have been nice. But you can see how on the first release it's got the left leg forward, and on the new one it's got the right leg forward. But also the body is a newer sculpt on the new one, partly because of the action feature that the original one didn't have. The original one had the battle damage action feature, which was pretty fun, where you just kind of touch the skin there and it would come down, and then you touch it again and the bone would go up and there's a sort of soft fleshy bit in there. But it's also, the newer one has got a bit of a fatter torso as well, so it's nice that they're not just the same figure slightly retooled. It is a pretty much completely different sculpt with different articulation as well. And one of the reasons I like the original Albertosaurus better is because it does have quite a bit of articulation that isn't tied into an action feature. You can open and close the jaw as you please, you don't have to have it open or closed. The legs move independently from each other. The tail and the neck are just independent joints from each other. You can pose however you want, so you can get some really nice looks out of that original Albertosaurus, looking to the side, looking down and up. You've got a lot of options there. The only point where the new one has better articulation is in the arms, because on this new one the arms go out to the side like that, as well as up and down, whereas on the original Albertosaurus actually the arms only went forward and backwards, they don't go out to the side. That's the one point on that original release where the articulation was slightly lacking. Also on the newer release, the mouth has more of a tendon on the edge of the mouth, whereas on the original it had a smaller one. It's only a minor detail, but it's just something that kind of stood out to me, because I've always liked that tendon inside the dinosaur mouths. That is something that I first saw in Jurassic Park, in the first movie with the T-Rex, so that just always seems like a really Jurassic Park thing to have that tendon at the edge of the mouth, and it is larger on the new one than on the original and stands out more. But that first release of the Albertosaurus was one of my favourite toys in the line, so it's nice to have another Albertosaurus. Even though I don't like this new one quite as much, it's still nice to build up the species with a new sculpt and design. On the head, I think the detail is finer on the battle damage version, but when you get to the torso, the sculpt looks a bit more detailed on the newer one. You see on the back there that it looks very similar, but it is a different sculpt on the back. That is a slightly different design. I think the detailing on the back there actually looks a bit more defined on the new one than on the original. I do love all the spines that go down the back of the Albertosaurus. Now the green on the back is slightly paler than it is when you go down the body a bit. If you look on the side of the torso and the leg, it is very faintly darker than it is along the back of the Albertosaurus. I prefer the colours on the original that are a bit more muted. It just looks a bit more realistic to me. I mean, like I said earlier, I know we don't know what colour dinosaurs actually were, but it just seems a bit more like a real-life crocodile or dinosaur type animal that's alive today to have the more muted, darker colours like that. And I think it makes the sculpt stand out a bit more as well. I don't know how widely the battle-damaged Albertosaurus was released in the rest of the world, but in England I don't think it ever got a release, so I had to have mine imported from America. So it is nice for UK collectors at least that you can get an Albertosaurus now easily and cheaply from Smith's and other toy stores, whereas I had to pay a bit more to get this one imported from America, because sadly it didn't get released in the UK, even though in my opinion it's the better of the two, so it's kind of a shame that it wasn't released here for some reason. And there's the app codes, and the feet on the newer one are a bit bigger than the original as well, which does help with balance issues, because sometimes that original can have a bit of trouble. It's alright on flat surfaces, but out here I've noticed that the older one is a lot harder to get to stand up because of the smaller feet. So having slightly larger feet on the new one is quite handy. So that's just a quick look at the massive biters Albertosaurus. I'd really love to see this dinosaur appear in Camp Cretaceous, because there's so many of these cool dinosaurs we've had in the line that haven't been in the movies and probably never will. So Camp Cretaceous seems like a great opportunity to actually put these into some media. And it's a really cool looking dinosaur. I think I said in my review of the battle damage one that the design of it kind of reminds me of the artwork from the Age of Reptiles dinosaur comic, which is a really good dinosaur comic. If you're into dinosaurs, you should check that out. It's set completely in dinosaur time, so there's no humans, no words or anything. You just see kind of dinosaurs going about their daily life, and it centres around a family of T-Rex and a family of Deinonychus. So it's a very fun story, beautiful artwork. I really like that Mattel are releasing new dinosaurs that we've already had, but with new sculpts and articulation, so we can build up a species like this. We're seeing it for quite a few of the carnivores now. And it's nice to have them with a bit of different articulation, a bit of a different sculpt, but still building up a family of Albertosauruses or Baryonyx or T-Rexes, but that also aren't just repaints. So thanks for watching everybody, and I'll catch you in the next video.